welcome to the 4th Age Total War Hot Seat session with Wombat, or Wombat as you please. I'll be playing Dwarves faction in this hot seat. We are currently on turn 1. This hot seat naturally will be changing seats each turn, so each episode in this series will be one turn long, however long that turn is going to take, and I'll try to compress things where they take too much time. This first episode shouldn't take too much time. I've never done a hot seat of, I think any game before, and there are special rules associated with it. So for those of you not familiar with hot seats, or at least not the rules of this hot seat game, I'll go ahead and read those off to you. For those of you who are familiar with them, I will put a timestamp in the description that you can skip past this part. So, the rules are as such. There are script rules, which have to do with the mechanics of how the mod works. This takes a special mod of the game to work. Every save must be sent to the admin and the next player in a DM, a direct message. Post only that you have sent the save in the channel itself, as well as screenshots if needed. To activate the end turn script, you need to press F1 on your keyboard, click the question mark, then on Show Me How. When ending your turn, activate the script, end your turn, then save. The next time you save is, the next time that save is loaded, it will be the next player's turn. Alright, now to the actual gameplay. Diplomacy. Every diplomatic action is instant, forced, and takes place on your turn using the scripts. I have no idea what that means. I'll have to get clarification on that part. Okay. When using the script for diplomacy, make sure you do it with a freshly started game, otherwise the script may not work. I see. Okay, things are getting clearer. Put every offer you have into the scroll, then press the question mark, then Show Me How. After that, the other faction should accept the agreement. You need to post pictures of any and all of your diplomatic actions. Both parties have to agree to the diplomatic action. Okay, what I'll probably do is just post, note timestamps in the description below for where these diplomatic actions occur. Let's see. You may only obtain trade rights from AI factions and may not receive money from them. Okay, that makes things more clear. My guess is in this hot seat game, diplomacy is something that mostly only occurs between the players, and I imagine that's just to keep the player from abusing diplomacy function in the game. It'll be difficult because this mod is very tight, or at least in previous iterations it was very tight financially, so getting money early, especially early on from diplomacy, was extremely helpful, and that doesn't appear that will be an option. This is my first time playing 3.4. My current campaign that I've been publishing is the 3.3 mod. So I guess what that means is you'd basically, if I were to do any diplomacy, it would be directly with the other player through chat on Discord, and then once we've made an agreement as to what diplomacy we want to perform with each other, we would then in-game have a forced diplomacy session to get those things accomplished. Okay, on to military rules. Battles can be played manually or be auto-resolved, although why you would do that I have no idea. Screenshots must be posted with odds and results screens. Mouse over the odds bar to show the ratio. Again, I'll probably just timestamp the video for those, unless it's inconvenient for everybody else, I suppose. The armies involved with their banners visible on the campaign map. Unit card of a siege unit must be visible if used to directly assault settlement. Interesting. Okay, I guess that's to make sure that you're sieging a settlement with the appropriate type of unit. Armies that were defeated in battle by a player that comes after them in the turn list may not move the following turn. What? I don't get that, but I'll try to get clarification on that point. This is to make it fair for people who are defeated by players that come before them on the turn list. Armies standing in fortifications, forts, or settlements, when defeated, can still move. Well, that encourages me to make forts wherever I go, just to avoid this mechanic, because I don't understand it. This rule, rather. Okay, settlements or forts can't be besieged to deny enemy reinforcements or to deny enemy retreat. Why? That's like the whole point of besieging things. Again, this is my first time hot seating. I expect the people I'm playing with who have done many of these games before have found that using that tactic of denying enemy reinforcements or retreat is too open to abuse. So that's why this rule is in place. I'm sure that's the case with all of the rules that aren't going to make any sense to me. This hot seat game is going to be a lot different from any campaign I've ever played. A lot of rules against things that I would normally use to get the upper hand in a campaign. Okay, ships cannot leave blockaded ports. Well, that makes sense. I think the only way they could do that in the regular game was a kind of exploit unintended by the original game design. No attacking ships in ports using the bug. Again, unintended, so not something I would do normally. No keeping units or agents inside ships in port to protect them. That's a little... I mean, I don't typically do that because I'm seldom have myself in a situation where I would need to, but it seems legitimate. I don't think that's something... But again, probably something that these hot seat games, it would be too exploitative. Okay, naval battles need at least 1 to 2 odds. No naval defeats. No naval... What? So, does that mean that I have to force victory in my naval battles? But I can do that when the enemy... when the enemy has twice as much power as I do? That doesn't make sense. Maybe they mean that I, the player, need to have twice the power of the enemy. That would make more sense. It's not going to be that much of a factor for me, fortunately, because dwarves really don't have ships, except in very limited situations. Okay, trolls and Mumakil may break down level 1 walls and camps only. Okay. I'm guessing that means they can't break down fort walls, because I think fort walls would be considered greater than level 1. So they won't be doing that. I probably wouldn't want to use them to do that anyway, because they get shot the hell up trying to break down a fort wall. Any artillery can attack any walls. Makes sense. As dwarves, we will have access to artillery, not trolls or Mumakil, so everything's honky-dory for me in that respect. You are not allowed to attack players who have not played their first turn yet. Okay, that makes sense. I should probably go through the list of who has already had their turn. Okay, so the turn sequence is thus. Adunabar, Harad, Dwarves, that's me, Elves, Rhovanion, Rhun, Rohan, Reunited Kingdom, and then Tharbad. So obviously I can't attack Adunabar and Harad. I'm guessing this only applies to the very first turn. Let me go back and look at those rules. So I can't attack Adunabar or Harad. I don't border either of those, so that's not an issue. Okay. You are not... okay, so you're not allowed to attack players who have not played their first turn yet, or end your turn with agents on their land without their permission. Max... That's interesting, because I think in the single-player campaign, for example, Adunabar already has agents on Reunited Kingdom territory, but that may have been changed for this hot seat campaign, or maybe it's different in 3.4. Military and agent rules don't apply versus AI factions or rebels. Okay, so I can kill as many AI factions and use my agents on their territory without their permission, obviously. Oh, and I don't need to post pictures of AI and rebel battles. Let's see. You're allowed a maximum of 3 camps. That would be forts in the original Rome Total War. Per region, per player. I can understand that because a player might be tempted to surround a settlement with camps. I think I've probably done that in cases like in the East where your settlements are all very exposed. And that could certainly be gamed. Minimum of 3 units per fort at turn end. That means you have to have, I'm assuming that means that you have to have those units inside the fort. Not like you can have as many forts as you have units divided by 3. So you're looking at an upkeep of at least like 300 million per fort, depending on your faction. As dwarves, my upkeep costs are probably going to be among the highest. So again, forts not particularly cost-effective, or camps rather, not as cost-effective as they would be in a single-player game. Military and agent rules apply. I already read that one. Troops cannot be disbanded to artificially boost the population of Elven Dwarven populated settlements. Interesting. Troops being disbanded must match the race of the territory they are disbanded in. Okay. So I see that would be relatively straightforward if, with just the first part of that rule, just elves, dwarves can't boost their populations in their racial settlements, not the ones that have been converted to Manish, obviously. But here, where it adds the second line, troops being disbanded must match the race of the territory. Well, the elves and dwarves are the only faction that is not a Manish race. That kind of suggests that maybe you can disband troops in a settlement, but they have to match the race of... Yeah, that seems contradictory. I'll have to get clarification on that point as well. No leaving the battle victory bug, including versus AI factions. I'm actually not familiar with that bug. So, probably won't be exploiting that. Okay. Now we have agent rules. Spies can get in with any percentage, but an overall 45% chance to open the gates is needed, with pictures as a proof in settlements, camps, and forts. Well, I'll just put timestamps in where that's appropriate. Settlements with stone and timber walls or greater require a 70% chance to open the gates. Okay, so this is like in addition to the game's random number generator to determine if your percentage is sufficient, you also have to have greater percentages than 45 or 70% respectively. Okay, and forts are not included in that. All the forts, you only require 45% to proceed, provided they've opened the gates for you. Assassins can kill agents and sabotage with any percentage, but are not allowed to kill generals or family members. Now, in 4th Age Total War, at least so far as I've played it, it's not a good idea to try to assassinate family members with assassins anyway. And as far as killing agents, it's better just to squash them if you can with a dragnet. But certainly sabotaging, great idea. You can really bankrupt other factions with that. So if I can do that, I will. Although with dwarves, population is such an issue that much more so with Manish factions, producing assassins will actually have an impact on how many of my own units I can create. Although I'll probably be trying to rely heavily on mercenary units where possible. Alright, Agent Cap is 8 spies and 2 assassins for Dundanic, Haradrian, and Dwarven factions, and 12 spies, 3 assassins for Barbarian, Northmen, and Elven factions. Interesting that there would be a greater limitation on Haradrian They seem like a very spy-y kind of faction. At least that's the way they've been. I have the Harad campaign there, and they have a lot of spy and assassin-oriented buildings and ancillaries and such. Anyway, this is for every 2 regions controlled starting at 6 regions. The agent cap rises by 2 and 1. I assume that means 2 spies, 1 assassin. So at 6 regions, you have 8 spies, 2 assassins. At 8, well, then that means it starts at 8. Never mind. Anyway, once I get 8 regions, then I'll be able to bump that up to 10. I think they. Oh no, 6 regions. Okay, no, yeah. Once I have 8 regions, I can have 10 spies, 3 assassins. Gotcha. Okay, well that will at least reduce my upkeep costs for agents, not being able to have that many, but let's look at how many provinces I actually control currently. 7. Okay, so I just need to capture 1 more region and I'll be able to increase my agent cap. Alright, every diplomat can only make 1 bribe per turn. Bribed units and agents can't move the turn they're bribed. Okay, that's curious. Again, probably something that's too exploitable in a hot seat situation. But there is the factor that there are no bribes. I mean, there are no limits on the number of emissaries you can have. So you can actually do quite a lot of bribing, provided you have a lot of emissaries. When receiving a region through diplomacy, all units except 1 must be disbanded. Keep in mind Elven and Dwarven disbanding rules. Okay, now here's an interesting caveat. Okay, I wanted to check to see if you could maybe trade provinces with AI factions, but no. The diplomacy rules are you may only obtain trade rights from AI factions. So that's pretty clear. You can't receive provinces from them. But I wonder if that also means you cannot negotiate peace with AI factions, because that would basically be receiving something from them. But I wonder if they offer you peace, are you allowed to accept it? Now, that's a curiosity. Well, we'll look into that later. I'm sure I'll have time to get clarification on it later. Upon capturing a settlement, you may only destroy the enemy provincial dominion building until you have built your own faction's provincial dominion building. Now that is a very limiting issue here on this mod, because that means you cannot set your settlements to local governance until you've got your own faction's provincial dominion building in place, because to do so before that time would automatically destroy all of these other buildings that give you no positive effects, like the military development and cultural conversion buildings. And that also means you're going to be dealing with a governor who's potentially less happy than he would be otherwise if you have a governor in place. And I don't think it's an issue of upkeep for the buildings. I think they might have gotten rid of that mechanic in 3.4. So at least you're not dealing with that. But that is a long time holding on to a province. You're talking about upwards of 15 turns, typically, that you have to hold on to a province before you can get rid of the military and conversion buildings that were in place. That's pretty harsh, and not easy to do. Settlements cannot be enslaved if they would boost the population of Elven and Dwarven cities, unless it was an Elven or Dwarven settlement enslaved. Okay, so they are permitting the movement of populations for elves and dwarves. That speaks towards there being okay under certain circumstances, that speaks towards there being okay to disband, for example, elven units in an elven settlement. But again, I will get confirmation on that, and that's not something I would have to do in my first turn, I expect. Okay, and then they just have some advice, something for those of you who haven't played 4th Age Total War before, that playing big factions is not any easier compared to playing small factions. The bigger a faction gets, the more it has to worry about corruption and public order problems. Whenever you conquer a province, in order to build buildings and units, you must destroy the previous faction's provincial dominion building and build your own. Each faction also has its own barracks, so you must first build your own barracks before you can build your units in a new settlement. Upgrading provinces to large towns or minor cities, etc., isn't dependent on population, and agents are built within taverns, not markets, as they are in Medieval 2. Okay, we can now move on to the actual gameplay. So, in Hot Seat, I think I am in a particularly bad position with my empire all spread out in different islands. Each one cannot support each other. So I do have, or should have, Dale as an ally, and I don't think anybody's playing Dale. I will double check on that. Yeah, Dale is an AI faction, so they are my allies and trade partners, so it'll be important to keep that going as long as I can, so that I can have trade. It says I can make trade deals with other factions' AIs, so I will try to get a trade going with my neighbors here. Let's see, that's Rhovanion and what's this other one? I did a damn series with them. Rhovanion. Rhovanion is a player character. I'm sorry, is a human played faction. And Rhovanion is not. Rhovanion is AI. So I can go ahead and do my trade relations with Rhovanion first on this first turn, if I recall. That is allowed. Better double check the rules. They're very complicated. Okay, I cannot make Rhovanion an ally, and I assume if they offer alliance, that I will have to reject that. Let's see, where is their settlement here? Okay. Now, I'll have to go ahead and make sure I remember to post a timestamp for this diplomatic action. And we'll go with trade rights and offer, and we got them. So that will help with income right away. Let's see, what other factions are... Okay, what other factions are human, or they're AI controlled that I border? Elves is being played by Tulkasthevalient, stout fellow. I have a emissary right there next to the elves, but I have to talk to Tulkas before I can go ahead and take advantage of our diplomacy. It's unfortunate. I should have talked to him. I mean, I didn't look at the rules until just now, so I haven't had the opportunity, but next turn, sure, I'll be able to get some trade relations going with him. Let's see here. Shire is right here. I don't border them, but I probably will soon. I'll have some time to deal with that. Let's see. Reunited Kingdom, also played by Tulkas at the moment. Oh, I guess we had somebody for the elves, but they dropped out, so Tulkas is filling in for two factions at the moment. And up here, we've already got trade relations with Dale, so that's it. Let's see if we are at war with the... We're not at war with the independent peoples, which means we are trading with them, and I think I'll just continue trading with them for the moment. My greatest concern is Naragzigil here, because... Oi! Very little defense here. Yeah, it's just way out here where anybody could come and clobber it. What we're going to try to do is get some more troops. Let's see if there's anybody here. Aha! 2 mercenaries right off. So we'll go ahead and get them. Fortunately, I do have a tidy sum in the bank. And we'll go ahead and place them inside here. Actually, let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and put a camp right here. Right off. And then I just have to keep 3 units inside the camp. So probably not my horsemen. Oh, I forgot about this, that we're using huge units. Previous to 3.4, it was always recommended that you use large unit setting. That is what the population mechanics were previously set up for, and I would argue the settlement models as well were much more amenable to large unit sizes. But these are the huge unit sizes, and I think that's just from popular demand. Everybody wants the largest units possible. So we're just going to put, I guess the bowman would be fine in there, and I'm going to put all of my infantry inside, because if I have to reinforce, if they're attacking there, I want to reinforce with my riders and have them outside the walls. They'll be the least vulnerable outside the walls. Alright, now I would say recruitment. Are we? Why can't? Oh, I have to unclick these. Okay. So, construction charters. We would definitely want to start with that. Construction is extremely expensive in this mod, so getting that construction cost down is a terrific boon, and dwarves are excellently positioned for that boon. They have very good buildings, very good ancillaries as far as construction is concerned, and we'll definitely want to just start building more units for our armies, and another emissary would be a good thing as well. Let's start with the emissary. That'll be a good sort of a spy also, just to scout around the area. Yeah, unfortunately, like every one of my settlements here has to be its own little island, and think about defending itself before anything else. How expensive are these guys? They're about the same. These guys don't have a shield. These guys have a missile attack, which is nice. Very short range. We're going to give him an emissary because he needs somebody to scout around. Okay, and we definitely also want population growth to be our main focus, because population is a problem for dwarves. I don't need to. You don't want... See, there's a disadvantage to having these dwarf axes queued up already, because any units that you have queued are not part of your available population pool, and that is the number that this population growth percentage is multiplying. So I will end up with more dwarves next turn in this settlement by leaving these guys off the queue, even though they aren't actually even built yet. Okay, and then we've got the Lonely Mountain. Oh, look! And I didn't realize there was a second settlement here. These two settlements are right close to each other. That's handy. Okay, so again, we're going to take that off. Pick growth. Construction charter. Do I have any units here, like an emissary? Nothing like that, apparently. Okay, so like if we open up this province details here, you can see that we've got trade coming in, and a significant portion of that trade is coming from settlements that are controlled by independent peoples. So if I declare war on the independent peoples, I will lose that trade, and that's not something I want to do until I'm actually ready to start capturing independent peoples' territories. Now, up in this area, because I don't want to be at war with Dale, I'm not going to be worrying about trying to capture their territories, and it's going to be a while before I feel confident enough to start sending my armies away from my own provinces in order to capture and expand other territories. Now, over in the west is a different story. There shouldn't be anybody terribly near me. We've got the Reunited Kingdom down here. They're within striking distance, probably I would say 3 turns. And so I have to be careful about that, but I can still sort of capture this pocket province down here, and that will give me Well, again, that means going to war with independent peoples, so maybe not. Okay, I'll have to consider that. But we definitely want some emissaries from all of these locations, if for nothing else than as a spy, as a scout. There's an emissary. Okay, let's see how these are situated. So again, we can place a camp here, and that will give me some protection at this settlement. Let's see. Would we have any mercenaries? Typically, the Dwarven lands and Elvish lands do not have mercenaries in them, but the nearby territory may very well have that. But, well, let's just poke our head out. Yeah, nothing there. Now, in the very first turn, your generals have reduced movement points, so I can't get them outside into an adjoining territory to see if there are mercenaries available this turn. I'll have to wait until they have more movement points next turn. Now, while attacking the independent peoples will see an immediate reduction in trade income, if any independent people provinces that I capture will have doubled the amount of income they would normally, well, at least if it still works as it did in previous iterations. For example, Ostanetil getting that much because it's an independent people's province that I have not declared war against. If I go out and capture it, then that amount will be doubled. But that will be accompanied by eliminating the trade income from independent peoples at all other areas. Let's see where he's getting trade from. Yes, they all have construction charters available. Okay, so here I could actually start recruiting a unit. But what unit would I want to recruit? And when you look at these, even though the recruitment cost is quite high, the real important cost on any unit is always going to be upkeep, because that's the one that's going to be incurring as long as it exists. So don't be deterred by a high unit cost if a significantly better unit is available with a marginally larger upkeep cost. For example, between these dwarf hammerers and dwarf axe throwers, if dwarf axe throwers are legitimately much better, utilitarian or otherwise, then this upkeep cost would not be so significant as to deter me from using them over the hammerers. One of the things I do like about these axe throwers is they are a ranged unit, which means they can cause casualties without receiving them, and casualties are something I would desperately want to avoid as a dwarven faction, or if you're an elven faction as well. Now, one thing I can do in this area, I do suspect that there are mercenaries available, probably some bowmen in Dale. So let's just poke our heads out and see. No? No? Let me see. Maybe just across the river here. Ah, no. No bowmen available. That is unfortunate. Okay, we're going to go back in area where I do want to get the ancillary to give them lordship. That's going to be increasing all kinds of bonuses like construction costs and income. So they need to get their ancillary and for their lordship, etc. I'll go ahead and get an emissary here as well. Okay, and then one place I already have an emissary is here. And what I want to do with that emissary, well, that is the question, isn't it? I'm not allowed to leave an emissary on a... Well, let me review the rules again. Okay, so yeah, the rules there are that you cannot have agents on another player's land without their permission. That is to say, you cannot leave them on their land. You can, as far as the rules are concerned, move them across their land without their permission, but not leave them on their land. Okay, so nobody is playing the Beornings, which means I can send this emissary onto Beorning land, and of course I can send them onto independent people's lands. So, purpose of this emissary would basically just be to expose where settlements are. I'll go ahead and do that. It's going to be going over here, and that means he's still in range of this elvish settlement here, where I can perform diplomacy if I can get permission to do so from Tulkas. Alright, let's just review our settlements here. Okay, Dwarf Elf. We'll go ahead and give you another... Oh, I can actually recruit a real scout here, so I will do so. Scouts are important. And then they'll need that construction charter and a growth policy. And there's no limit on how many emissaries you can have, so I'm going to be producing them to get eyes on things. Another construction charter and growth policy. That needs to be on growth. Alright, I think that is everything that I can do. Okay, let's check really quick and see if I can get a mercenary over here. Yes, I can. Okay, Bowman of Eriador, we will get that. Probably not a bad idea to put a camp right here. Okay, so these are the characters I'll have inside of that camp. The troops. Because we've got 2 ranged units inside the walls, and if somebody has to run to the walls, it'll be a good idea to have one who has resistance to cavalry. And these guys are close enough to help in case Dwarf does get besieged. Alright, so just looking around. Now let's see. Let's just, well, we can't do anything more with Rhovanion than we've already done. So let's start moving towards this settlement of the Rhovanion. They have a settlement up here by this river crossing, which I should be able to reach next turn. And I'll just have to count with count MRVHS. He is the person controlling Rhovanion. So I'll send him a message and see if he's amenable to trade. And same with Tulkas, who's another player that I can potentially trade with. We'll get those done next turn. So that was fun. We've done a lot of investing in things, which was nice. Did a little bit of proactive building of camps to make sure that I am well defended. Let's look at this one here. There's sort of a tight spot here where I can build a camp to protect Barazdum. We've got, let's see, is Rhun? Oh, Rhun is a AI faction. Okay. So that's another faction I could potentially get trade going with. Do we have... Yeah, we've got another emissary being produced here, so I can send him over to Rhun in this area. Rhun will almost certainly capture these settlements very early on down here, and I want to be able to trade with them when that happens. Okay, and then this area up here is probably going to be captured by North Rhun, and that it is called North Rhun. Is somebody playing? Yeah, somebody is playing North Rhun. Lazy Hyena. Fun name. Alright, I don't think there is anything else that I can accomplish materially at this time. So let's look at our agents, make sure they have been moved. Everybody is happy. Alright, I think that's as much as I can do on a first turn. Okay, let's look at those rules again on how to end the turn. Okay, so to activate the in-turn script, you need to press F1 on your keyboard and then click the question mark and on Show Me How. When ending your turn, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and I'm pretty sure that I need to put my screen over here on the edge of the map where it was when I first started recording. Alright, so we press F1, and then the question mark, and then show me how, which is this one. Alright, now I just need to end the turn. It says game saved successfully. Okay, I'm going to save manually just in case. It's not clear on whether I need to rely on the saved game. Yeah, it's not clear on whether or not I need to rely on the save game produced by the game itself, or whether I have to do it manually, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it manually. Okay, so we will call this, the next one is the Elves faction. Very good. Alright, well that will conclude episode 1 of the Dwarves Hot Seat session. I've been Wombat or Wambat, as you please, and please tune in for the next episode, which will occur as soon as everybody else has had their turns, so who knows when. But I'll keep them all on a playlist for you.